Alright, and it looks like our runners are off. So as said before, welcome to the Metroid Fusion 80% tournament. We have a match today between Boxmeister and Sophia, and they've both already started here, and they'll be going through and seeing who can win. Now, Fusion's one of the more linear entries in the franchise, and that's going to be reflected here, and that they're going to mostly be sticking with the original game route. But one thing, the main variance we're going to see here is the strats that they use throughout the run and how they decide to move about. And now, this first little area here they've gone through is the climb. It's starting area, the most difficult set of early jumps you got to do, and unfortunately, neither runner was really able to get the perfect climb there, so a bit of a struggle start. But as said, Fusion early game, we're going to see them have a lot of variance just because of RNG and just in general movement. Now, it looks like this early on, Sophia has a little bit of a lead here. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, but main deck area is pretty unique on movement. You have a lot of little movement things you got to do here and there to keep moving optimally, including worrying about tech smashing a bit early on. There's a good chunk of tech smashing the runners have to do early on, and if either of them fall behind on that, they can easily lose seconds or even more to their opponent. Now, both runners are playing on the Japanese version, so there is a bit less text to worry about. So I guess you could say it's a little less room for time loss, I guess. But text is still very important, and neither runner wants to let that get away from them. Yeah, both runners are really neck and neck right now, with Sophia just being a little bit ahead of Boxmeister, it looks like. But like I said before, this early on in the game, there's a lot of variance. Not just because of the player's gameplay, but because of RNG. And so I would not count out any lead anyone has just yet. There's still a good chunk of the run to go, and they still got to worry about eye doors and all the other fun stuff they got to deal with on their way to victory. I think we might have skipped over commentator introductions, so while our runner's going through some text here, we should do that. I'm Next Gen Gamer 9.
I am Phazon Knight, and I'm again going to be a duo for commentary today.
Alright, so both our runners about to finish off this last little text box here before they go to fight the Ador in the boss fight, and we'll see how that fight goes. They did get missiles, which is going to be used to kill a lot of things for a little bit here.
Yes, for the beginning of the game, missiles do a lot more damage than your beam can do. Very helpful.
Yeah, and both runners synced up right now. You see little slight differences in their movement, like Sophia not doing a spin jump, not doing a spin there. And just, you'll see a lot of times runners just do different things, and sometimes things save time, sometimes it's just doing something while you're falling so you don't get bored, I guess. But that's the main difference you'll see between a lot of Fusion runners, is just in the strats they use to go through the rooms. Now it looks like Sophia did a really good job and is now got some good RNG there and is going to be moving onward. And this is what I was talking about, where sometimes RNG, especially early game, can be the defining factor for a run. Now, like I said, there's still a lot of bad RNG to go, or potential spots for bad RNG, so it'll be interesting to see if Sophia keeps this lead here or if the game decides to just not cooperate. Yeah, unfortunately, Sophia having a bit of trouble on the boss fight there, which allowed Boxmeister to catch up here, and I think he might be a little bit ahead now. Yeah, not much. They're still pretty in sync at the moment. So again, although RNG is a factor, you still want to perform really well, because right there, Boxmeister gained his time loss back just from having a better fight with Arachnus than Sophia did. Now both runners going to be heading to Sector 1 here. Looks like Boxmeister is actually going to be grabbing the main deck missile, while it looks like Sophia did not grab the main deck missile. Now this could be interesting because main deck missile gives Box a bit more ammo to work with in Sector 1. And if everything goes well, this won't make a difference, but if Sophia has a bit of bad luck, she could be easily worse off than Boxmeister. So Sophia's a bit ahead of Boxmeister here for not grabbing the main deck missile, but we'll see if that lead stays. So Box is still going to be behind at the start because of that, but he can still catch up here. And as I said before, there's always an RNG component to worry about here. You have to use a lot of missiles throughout this sector, so hopefully neither of our runner will run into any missile count issues, but if they both do, that could be advantageous for Box. Of course, every bit of damage that Sophia takes also does not help, because whenever you take damage, of course, you end up reducing your chances of getting green drops here, because you have to, your health is going to be lower, and it's going to be harder to recover your health. But really, it looks like Box is actually doing a bit worse for wear on the health here. So it may be good for him to have actually picked up that main deck missile, because he's going to be taking a little bit more damage than Sophia did so far. Although Sophia actually opts to not go down the pyre. Ooh, Box's health is not good right now. So Box may be in a bit of trouble because of his health at the moment. Even if with that main deck missile, he's still... I'm trying to think of how many missiles he needs to fire here, but still may be a bit bad off. Although it looks like he caught up to Sophia a good chunk right there, so hopefully everything goes well. Now the good thing for Box is that he's been getting missile drops from these enemies, which is nice, but he wants to be careful with his health because his health is still low because of that. And if he ends up taking too much damage, he could be in a very bad position, if not just completely at risk of death. Alright, now that little health bit he got there is actually really good because his health was fairly low, and now he's gonna not only get ahead of Sophia here, he's going to have a bit better health. He's not going to have to worry about dying through the eye door or anything like that. And he has enough missiles to go for a set of doubles here too. So that door opened a little bit too quickly there. He didn't really have time to set up for the double. Alright, does not get it, but he does get like one beam, I believe. So gain a little bit of time there. Looks like Sophia had similar RNG.
And Box gets double on the core.
Yes, you'll be seeing them using doubles a lot throughout the run to speed up these fights. And doubles are a really good time save, so being good at them can be a very valuable source of gaining time over your opponent if your opponent's not quite as good at them. And that right there just helped Box widen his lead against Sophia a little bit here.
So the charge beam is pretty interesting in this game. It's made of 3 parts. The main beam, which has 2 parts, the top and the bottom, and the flare, which all together it does 26 damage compared to the 10 your missiles currently do. So they'll be using the charge beam a little bit more than the missiles now. So as you can see, Box was not able to get it, but with the stabilizer right after charge beam, they were able to jump into it and use all 3 parts to kill it instantly, instead of using 3 missiles.
It's a bit misleading to say they'll be using charge beam more, although they definitely will be using it more, probably more than their missiles at this point. Do not take that to assume missiles have pretty much become useless, because missiles are still very useful for killing things quickly, and they'll be using them in quite a few rooms just because they don't have enough time to actually charge up a charge beam. Now it looks like both of our runners have gotten through, or about to get through, or have gotten through Sector 1 here. Now, Sophia doesn't take too much more damage at this point. She'll be getting out of here with fairly good health, which is nice because the next sector is extremely hazardous. You definitely do not want to have bad health going into Sector 2. Pretty much every enemy there does a good chunk of damage, and the most common enemy will knock out about a 4th-ish of your health that you have right now. A little bit less than that, but pretty much close to that number. It looks like Box did gain a good chunk of time over Sophia here from just having a little bit better movement and some better play throughout Sector 1. Well, like I said before, early game is extremely volatile, and any lead at this point is not something I would hold a whole lot of faith in right now. You can see a fairly long text box here, both runners still in it, even with a bit of a time gap between them. But Box is out of it, and he's going to be gunning here to get the bombs upgrade. We'll see how his little trip goes here. Now, these enemies are the ones that you really want to avoid. The damage they do is a ton, and yeah, right there you already see Box basically lost 1/4 of his health just from running into one of them. It's definitely not a fun thing to do.
Yeah, and those are the most common enemies in Sector 2.
And there you saw an example of where we still get to have a bit of utility of charge beam because of missiles, because in that room he couldn't actually move quick enough. Ooh,
Sophia had a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, taking a bit of damage there, not good. Yeah, I think opting to jump over that Zoro there was a smart move. You definitely want to conserve your health if you're going through here and having a bit of trouble. Looks like Box gets through that room no problem on his way out. Another thing to know is that the enemies can either go one way or another way. It's usually determined by RNG, and depending on which way they go will affect the patterns you get, and you don't want to get bad patterns, but it's unfortunately outside of your control.
And Box now has the bomb upgrade, with Sophia pretty close to getting it. Now, bombs are pretty limited in this game compared to other Metroid games, as they're very slow, have a very small radius, so they're mainly just used for exploring or movement, more than any attempted sequence breaks.
So Box gets a nasty pattern there, but deals with it no problem. And that's the main thing you'll see throughout this sector, is just if the runners can not only know how to deal with the patterns, but actually be able to execute those effectively. Now hopefully Sophia does not get a bad pattern here. Oh, good. Sophia actually gets a pretty favorable pattern. So that'll help out a lot. And now that Both runners are on their way to fight Zazabi. Now, unfortunately, Zazabi continues the trend of early game bosses being a little bit annoying in the random department. And Zazabi can actually give them a certain number of wasted jumps between 3 to 12, and each jump, of course, is going to waste a little bit of time. Hopefully neither runner gets some bad Zazabi luck, but Zazabi can definitely be a great equalizer early on in the run.
Yes, optimally you want 3 rounds for Zazabi. And like Nextion said, within each round, Zazabi can waste between 1 and 4 jumps. Ooh, Sophia should be a little careful now. She could die in 1 hit. As you can see, using the charge beam would now instant kill the Idor instead of using 3 missiles.
Yeah, a bit of bad luck on that Idor for Box. He's going to lose a bit of time there. Not a great start, already wasting 3 jumps.
And 3 or 4 beams for Sophia as well, and she did opt to not pick up the E-Tank.
So Box continuing the trend here of... Oh no. That looked like that was an 11 jump Zazabi for Box. Not very... Zazabi decided to not be very nice today. Oh, and he messes up the kill there. Last phase actually takes more damage than the earlier phases. But the good news is the last phase will always do a regular jump, where you can actually damage it. But you'll still lose time if you mess it up, of course. But you can actually see here where I mentioned before, Zazabi can be the great equalizer, and Sophia was able to catch up a little bit just from that boss fight, not behaving nicely for Box. So our first SAS encounter, you kind of want to be careful here because if you go too soon, you'll run into it, and that does not result in good things happening. But luckily, looks like Box didn't do that, so he gets through no problem.
Yes, and Sophia played it safe as well. Occasionally you could see runners drop down and just try to mess with the SAX because it's and stay behind it, but that has caused a runner to die already in this tournament. So thankfully they did not do it that way. Sophia had a little trouble, seems, trying to get to the wall jumps out of that room.
Yeah, little platforming mistakes like that can really widen the lead that a runner has over another runner. Right, and Box is already in Sector 4 here. He's going to be heading on and moving throughout the sector and going to fight the Ceres boss fight. Sector 4 is definitely a bit of a hazardous area as well in regards to platforming. There are a few spots where there's some fairly tight platforming they have to do to not lose time. We'll see how this goes for Box. They will have Speed Booster by the end of this, which is going to change up the run a little bit as well. We'll get more into that whenever they get through here. Box misses that shoe cancel actually and causes him to lose a teeny bit of time. Downside about whenever you use a shot cancel is that if you mess it up, stuff like that will happen and you'll end up losing some time. Definitely a lot more than you would have gained by actually getting the shot cancel, so you want to be careful when you're doing that. Alright, see how the game's RNG treats Box here.
And as Box enters the Ceres fight, Ceres is pretty interesting as it has 50 health, and since our beam does 26 with the flare, if we're able to land the flare and the other two parts of the beam, we can kill Ceres in 2 hits. Just missing it slightly, we can throw it off. Looks like Box did get the first hit.
No. Unfortunately, if he'd stayed where he was before, he would have actually been able to deal with that pattern, but it looks like he moved off a bit too soon. Alright, we can get this kill. Alright, nice.
He's able to two-shot it.
Didn't get the first attempt at a double, but this is a boss fight. Yeah, so this boss fight actually has 5 hits. So even if you miss your first attempt at a double, you haven't lost time other than the setup until your second attempt fails there. Luckily, Box got his second and third attempt on that, so he didn't have to worry about shooting any more missiles than necessary.
Sophia had a 3-shot Ceres. A little bit of trouble, but otherwise managed it quite well. No doubles though.
Both runners are... Ooh. Unfortunately, Sophia messes up the speed booster there, the low height, and wasn't able to store it, which is really bad for 2 reasons. One is that, of course, the obvious time loss from not being able to spark all the way across, then go back. But also, Sophia now has a lot less missiles. And this is going to become a problem because you really need missiles for this next boss fight. So that will definitely impact Sophia's ability in the next sector to get out of there safely.
She's actually rather low in health as well as missiles. She played a little bit safe with the crabs in Sector 4. And hopefully also is able to shine charge on the pad, so no missile shame for either runner.
Uh-oh, this is really... Sophia's definitely not got good health right now. I'm not sure how much damage the values for the enemies do offhand in the next sector, but...
It's quite a bit. I think she will die instantly if she gets hit with a side hopper.
Yeah,
Or
side
close
hoppers
to.
definitely. I'm not sure about everything else.
I wonder if she will recharge. And yes, she's gonna recharge, playing it safe, which is good.
It's definitely a good decision, especially whenever you're low on health and missiles like that. Will definitely make Sophia's life a lot easier going into Sector 3. Of course, you do lose time for taking that refill, but better to lose a little bit of time there than to lose a lot of time from dying later on. Right, both runners are in Sector 3. Boxmeister still a little bit ahead of Sophia right now. And now an important thing to note here is that we're sort of getting to the point in the run where things start to stabilize out RNG-wise for a little bit. So right now, Box having a lead is very good for him because we're starting to get... RNG is starting to become less and less important. Although, not to pretend it's not important, it's just not as severe as it is in the early game. But there are still some boss fights, and of course the Idors you have to deal with that will affect how Box's run goes. But oh, he does get the shine break there.
Oh.
Okay, so Sophia did a really cool trick there. You can actually have one frame when you jump from a speed booster to land and be able to store a shine spark at the same time. And now Sophia did shine spark a little bit too high, and so she wasn't able to break the speed booster box at the bottom, but that is a neat little trick you can do. Now, of course, the trade-off there is Sophia pause buffered it, so there was a little bit of a real-time loss to gain the time there by doing that spark. But it is a neat little trick to see, and it's really fun to watch.
And with that, Box now has the super missiles, which literally triple your damage. Now, the downside of missile upgrades are that with each missile upgrade, your cooldown between missiles increases and the missiles travel slightly faster, so it's harder to line up doubles.
Alright, Boxmeister gets through the fight okay. He does have 4 missiles leaving, which is actually something really important to mention because whenever you're leaving here, you want to have a minimum of 3 missiles to actually be able to start off in Sector 6. Without 3 missiles, you kind of have to go do some other methods to get by. Of course, Box, ideally you want to have like at least 6 missiles leaving the Box fight because then there are 3 opportunities you have to use super missiles. So Box was not able to do that, and he was only able to pick one of those opportunities, use it, and he had to avoid the other 2 side hoppers, so a bit unfortunate there that he wasn't able to quite take advantage of it.
Sophia also had a little bit of trouble with the Box fight here.
Yeah, Sophia's health is also, again, not great.
Yeah, she did not grab the Zaza BB tank, which is honestly a little surprising, considering I know a lot of runners will grab it just to be safe, especially in these tournaments. And she's a little bit low on health. And going to the next sector, that there are new X types that are Ice X that will purposely try to get absorbed by Samus, and they'll do 69 damage. So Sophia can get killed in 2 hits pretty easily.
Yeah, I do not think the skipping Zosby tank paid off for Sophia, unfortunately. There were definitely some opportunities where Sophia wouldn't have lost time. They had the health to go through, no problem. So Box is in Sector 2, or sorry, Sector 6 now. You're going to see right here, this is the main reason they want to grab those missiles, is just to get that barrier out of the way. Luckily, neither runner will have to do anything different there. But one advantage Box does have is he has a lot of health right now, which if he hadn't grabbed the Zosby E-Tank, his health would be closer to Sophia's, but because of him grabbing that E-Tank, he's actually a little bit ahead of Sophia in health right now. And that's actually going to help him out a lot because he can tank a few hits here, and some of the Ice X positions can be really difficult to deal with. Oh, Box does a wind spark there, and well, he sort of bonks against that wall, which loses him a bit of time. Luckily, he didn't do a spark in the opposite direction or anything like that, so not a whole lot of time lost from that.
And another SAX encounter. This one's a little bit easier to be skipped, if you want to say skipped, as we'll see. We'll let the SAX walk forward a little bit, shoot in the back, and watch it just jump over them, and they'll just be on their way.
Yeah, if they don't do that, you have to wait for the SX to leave the room, which takes forever. So it's more worth it to just go in and lure the SAX that way and then just go through. Yeah, that ISEX is actually one of the ones I was mentioning that it's fairly annoying positioning. Luckily it didn't snipe Sophia there, so Sophia's gonna go on here and make it through no problem.
Box got 0 beams. That's pretty good. And now he's facing the Mega Core X, which, as you can see, can be killed in 4 charge beam shots if you land the flare.
Looks like he did get. Oh, he almost had the 4 shot there. For this boss, you basically.
It's a little bad positioning of the Mega Core X. Not really a good place that he could jump in and use the full charge beam. Gets
get
one double
there, it looks like. Yeah, nice. Right, so Box gets the Various Suit, no problem. Had a bit of trouble at the start of the fight there, and that's just the thing with the Mega Core X. You can actually keep it in the top left as long as you're consistent with it, but the minute you're slightly off or something, it will move its position and it'll start going around the room, and it becomes a lot harder to get the 4 shot then. Not to mention, I'm sure there's time loss from depending on where it comes in from, and that's not something that's really helpful either. Sophia almost gets it, but messes up, I believe it was the last shot.
The last or the second last shot, I'm not quite sure.
Either way, Sophia gets it in 5 shots, so still a little bit better than Box's fight there.
So not get any doubles. Not really even attempting to get doubles.
Yeah, the thing with doubles is that there is time to actually set them up. So if you're not gonna set them up properly, it may not be worth it to just go try to do a setup. Instead, just try and shoot it ASAP.
And if you were paying attention to Box screen, you can see these little purple things that we call puffers that float around. Now these are extremely annoying as they have a few different patterns in each room, and again, it depends on RNG what pattern you get. So they can be either in a pretty decent position or a pretty terrible position. And if you shoot them, they also release little clouds of smoke that will damage you. So it's pretty interesting to see runners trying to adapt their movement to get around them.
Yeah, we see Sophia just had one right in her way there, and that's unfortunately what puffers do. You can't really do anything about it, and you just kind of have to deal with them.
Oh, Sophia not grabbing the Sector 6 missile tank.
Looks like Boxmeister is formally in Sector 5 here. He's going to be going through and trying to get the ice missile upgrade now. Now the downside with Sector 5 is it's really repetitive, and you basically have to go through a similar route twice, well really 3 times. And the big danger here is just forgetting which lap you're on, so to speak. And if you do that, you can actually lose a lot of time by going to the wrong area or forgetting to go do something as well. The ways you can mess it up are very varying, and you don't want it to happen. So hopefully we won't see either runner make that mistake. Boxmeister having really good movement for out here right now. It's definitely going to help him out, keep his lead here a little bit. Right, and both runners are formally in Sector 5. Sophia's a little bit, but is going to be a good chunk behind here right now. We'll see if Boxmeister can keep this lead or if he will lose a bit of time. There's a lot of different ways you can go through some of these rooms, and that shaft in particular has a few different little differences you can make when going up it. Interesting to see if we see Sophia actually go through with a similar route. Now it looks like Box is formally going to be getting ice missiles here. Thankfully, he did not forget to go and get them.
And with Box now having the ice missiles are a pretty interesting upgrade. They, or sort of downgrade if you want to look at it like that. They do increase the damage of your missiles, but it also requires that you have the enemies that were one hit by your super missiles now take 2 shots to kill, as they are now frozen.
Yeah, unfortunately, each of the missile upgrades in this game after supers pretty much feels like it comes with a bit of a downgrade every time, almost. Doubles just keep getting harder and harder. Although we may actually see our runners be a bit more consistent with doubles for the ice missiles, just because you only really have one boss fight you use super doubles on. Whereas for ice missiles, there are actually quite a few boss fights you have to get doubles on. And that one boss fight also is a bit of a nuisance to get doubles on as well, so that's why you may see runners struggle a bit more with getting doubles on the Mega Core X as compared to some of the later bosses like Yakuza or Nightmare, etc.
I'm looking at Box screen. I think we have an emergency somewhere.
Not sure. I don't think I can hear it very well. Can you be a bit more precise on that?
I believe it is saying Franker Z.
Doesn't quite sound right, but we'll go with it. So the emergency section of the game is probably one of the movement tight areas. You get to use your ice missiles to freeze a lot of enemies, and if your missile count's bad, it will negatively impact your travel through here pretty significantly if your missiles are below a certain point. Now Box has more than enough missiles to get through emergency just fine, so this shouldn't be an issue for him. But Sophia's missile count's a bit tighter, so that may become a problem.
Now, you're given 6 minutes to go down to Sector 3 and turn off the boiler or whatever. You really only need about a minute and a half.
Ooh, Box having a bit of trouble there. Ends up having to waste a few extra missiles there, but Like I mentioned before, his missile count is really good right now, so I don't think we're going to see him. Looks like he got a missile drop as well, so game's making sure he's going to have plenty of missiles here, which is really nice. You'll be seeing these enemies right there called stretchies be used as platforms a lot throughout this area, and throughout future areas a little bit. Uh-oh, Box messes up a bit of a jump there and loses a couple of seconds or so. The main thing with emergency is that one little mistake can cost you a lot of time, even something like that. You just lost a few seconds just off of falling there. And that trend, unfortunately, continues throughout the entirety of emergency.
He accidentally froze the stretchy above the hole he was falling through, so it wasted a little bit of time killing that.
I think at this point, Box messes up the side hoppers a little bit there. If you do that room properly, you'll actually go through the door firing 3 supers. The first 2 will actually kill the first side hopper, and the last 2 will and the last one will actually freeze the second side hopper. Unfortunately, Box did mess that up, so he lost a bit of time there.
I believe that was a double there that he got, and
he did get 1 double on the Core X though. So it looks like he'll be finishing with around a 410-ish, 411-ish emergency there. So it was an okay emergency for Box. Did make a few mistakes here and there that made him lose a bit of time, but mostly consistent throughout here. See how Sophia's goes in a second. Oh, Sophia luckily messes up on freezing that enemy there, but does not freeze it in a super inconvenient position, so Sophia was able to sort of mitigate any time lost there. Sometimes the enemies behave nicely for you, other times they are significantly less nice, unfortunately. Looks like Sophia opts to not go for doubles in the Core X, but Sophia will actually be having a slightly better emergency than Box did here. Saving about 7-ish seconds or so off of Box's, with those like 8 seconds faster.
yes, and now both runners have the wide beam, which is another one of those upgrades, upgrades, as it does increase the damage, increases the with height of your beam, and it hits more enemies, but it's still alright, and mainly the damage depends on hitting all 3 parts of the beam.
One good thing about wide beam is that it doesn't really give you the whole thing where it doesn't really give you a downgrade like some of the missile upgrades do, so it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's definitely comparatively not that useful either, unfortunately. The later upgrades like Plasma and Wave will have a bit more utility to them. And I want to see how Sophia does this climb here. This climb is actually a bit interesting because it's one of those areas where you'll see runners do it in slightly different ways. Looks like Sophia is just opting to use the ladders here to climb up, which is a little bit slower, but ooh, and damaging. Okay, Sophia doing the smart thing there and actually opting to freeze that enemy and destroy it, which is definitely a smart move because if that enemy spits at you or if it just runs into you, that would be game over for Sophia right now. Unfortunately, Sophia is not out of the woods yet, and some of these enemies can be really annoying to deal with too.
Yes, I wonder if she's going to try to attempt another recharge.
Yeah, you can pseudo screw attack that enemy, but Sophia opted to shoot from a far distance away, probably just for safety reasons, and takes the refill there. So Sophia's not going to have to worry about health or missiles for a little bit here. And a Boxmeister actually stood in a specific spot there to make sure that that happened. That shine break that we saw Box do is actually fairly easy to do if you do that setup there. But you can, of course, still do it the old-fashioned way and just try and run over the blocks. As long as you stay in the right spot, though, Samus will break the block as she goes over it, and you can store your spark on soft ground instead of trying to time it so you store your spark as you break the block.
And with that, Box has now saved the animals. It was pretty decent RNG.
Sophia opts to grab the main deck missile on this trip. I was actually about to comment on the fact Sophia actually has 2 less missile tanks than Box does at the moment, and they'd have to make up the difference somewhere. Typically, you see runners go with 40 or 45 missiles throughout the game. You can do 35, but that's generally not a good idea because it's a really low missile count, and you have to play perfectly, really, to make up the time save. Not even sure if the time save is really feasible to get as a human player. We're going with 35 missiles, but either way, you want to have 40 or 45. It looks like Sophia is going to be opting to get 45 missiles here. Fortunately, Sophia did mess up the shine break, so it's a bit of time loss. Does get to freeze that enemy in a decent position there, so that's a nice little bit of a boost there. Now, where you set up the shine break in this room does affect your time you have to actually store the spark. So that's one area that a lot of times you may see runners mess up as they go too late or something and they don't have the same amount of time to store the spark as they usually do. Box on his next trip to Sector 5, going for a little bit of a spark here at the start. Does get it, it looks like. Now sparking the walls like that is a bit interesting, because if you hold A after you do the spark, the game will actually let you go through and just jump out of your shine spark there. Don't think it actually acts like a true wall jump. Do not quote me on that, but it does allow you to jump freely out of shine spark, which you can use to easily buffer a jump you need to make.
But now Boxmeister has the power bombs, which are very plentiful in Fusion, but hopefully they do not need to collect all 74 in any percent. Yeah, the SAX is back there, but we can easily just bypass it and not get hurt at all.
It's important to note that that SAX encounter can be incredibly deadly. Oh, Box. Oof. Box having a bit of a dance there trying to get that red X.
Yeah, that red X isn't exactly needed, but he'd probably prefer it on saving his energy after the sector and on the way to the ship.
Yeah, there's a area right after this actually called Spitter Room where you're basically dealing with some RNG, and if the RNG doesn't cooperate, you can take a lot of damage. So you don't want to have low health going through there.
Yes, we
that red
had a
X can
runner
be a big help.
died to the spitters the other day, but and Sophia is now collecting the power bombs.
Box is going to be leaving the sector here. Sure, nothing's going to go horribly wrong or anything like that along his trip back to the ship. Though maybe the elevator shuts down or something, but I'm not too sure. I think Box will be perfectly fine here.
I mean, we could always ask.
Sophia does... Ooh. Now, Sophia waited way too late to lay that power bomb there, and because of that, Sophia had to worry about dodging those ice beam shots there. You generally want to lay the power bomb early on because you want to give them more room between you and the SAX. If you don't do it properly, then you have to dodge the SAX's ice beams, which is not an easy thing to do. Looks like Box got good RNG going through Spitter Room there. Didn't look like the Spitters really negatively impacted him there. Downside about Spitter Room is it can either go perfectly or it can go horribly wrong. Luckily, it looks like Box had to go perfectly there, so makes it through okay without having to take any excessive damage.
Yeah, and the other downside of the Spitter Room is if you do get knocked out of your speed booster there, you have to take that missile tank there by land a power bomb, as you can't. It'll be faster than going back and trying to get another shine speed booster.
Yeah, that missile actually, I think, is faster than some of the missiles in the game. So it's actually definitely an option if you go with a 45 missile route, or even a 40 missile route.
I'm kind of curious if that's the next missile that Sophia will grab, or if she'll just stick with 40.
Yeah, I'm not sure what we'll see Sophia do here. The main thing that worries me at this point is Sophia's health. Now, Sophia's probably going to be grabbing the C-Tank we see Box grab right here. So Sophia's health's going to get a little bit better, but the enemies start doing more damage to compensate for that, so... That is probably Sophia's main concern right now, is just having enough health.
But with that, Box is about to start the Yakuza fight. Now, Yakuza is pretty interesting, as you will see Box, as soon as he enters this room, jump up and start firing his charge beam and missiles. That's because you can damage Yakuza when he spits out his initial fire. Now, Yakuza can give between 1 and 4 rounds between spitting his fire out again and being able to get shot. And you can see Box jumping into his arms to try to manipulate him.
Now, the one thing I want to mention here is Box is actually wasting like 2 missiles on each of these wasted rounds, which should not be a problem, I hope, for his missile count, but if you have a low missile gun in the second phase, you can definitely have some trouble. And now the charge beam actually does more damage here, but the thing with this boss fight is that if you're good with it, it's actually much quicker to use missiles instead of charge beam. Because charge beam, you have to wait for the charge timer, and you're really limited in when you can actually do it.
Yeah, Box unfortunately missed or tanked a lot of his missiles. And actually just getting health drops from this Core X, no Green X at all. A little bit of a time waste.
Does get a double there. Right, nice. Box does get the space jump upgrade and gets through the fight. Had a little bit of trouble with that second phase of the Yakuza there just because he ran out of missiles. That's what I was talking about earlier when he was messing up and whenever he was wasting missiles in the first few rounds. Yakuza is complete RNG with how long it takes him to actually open his mouth. So he can go through 1 to 4 rounds before he does it, and just missing those missiles and getting, I believe that was a 4 round, did not help him out at all. Looks like we see Sophia has now entered the fight. Getting similarly bad RNG there, and that's the unfortunate thing about Yakuza is just does not cooperate whenever you want him to.
3 rounds for Sophia. She's using Charge Beam. I guess playing a little bit safe with her missile count for now. Box is on his way from running from the SAX.
You actually see what I mentioned there, why shooting missiles can be faster, because there's a few moments where Sophia just did not have the time to have the beam fully charged and being able to hit. And the damage discrepancy just isn't enough for it to not be worth it. But it's definitely a fight where you want to actually be able to consistently deal with its second phase with missiles before you try and go for it. Otherwise, you just want to use Charge Beam, because Charge Beam is a bit safer there. So a lot of times Charge Beam will just get rid of those projectiles he shoots at you a lot easier.
Box is now fighting Neterai. And Neterai is the main reason why runners collect so many missiles, as it just has a ton of health.
You need 45 missiles to actually destroy this boss, or 48 missiles to damage and destroy this boss. So if you have less than that, you actually need to do, I believe it's 1 power bomb and 1 charge beam shot for every shot you don't have, or it may just be one of the 2.
Now, I'm not sure, but I think Box may have gotten a double.
Don't think so.
No, he was not.
He did not. Fortunate. Yeah, getting doubles on these enemies is a lot harder. Because these Core X's only have 1 vulnerable spot, and so you really have to make them hit that 1 spot.
Oh. He's having a little bit of trouble trying to get away from Sax, but is able to get away. And since Box now has the Plasma Beam, time to talk about what Plasma Beam does. Plasma Beam completely changes how your beam works. It lowers the overall damage of your beam, but it now does damage per frame of every frame that's inside an enemy. Now this is really good for the regular enemies, but for a few of the upcoming bosses, they have extremely small hitboxes. So the beam will only be inside for 1 or 2 seconds, or frames, excuse me, before tinking. So overall, it's a good upgrade, but pretty poor choice for the upcoming bosses.
Sophia having a bit of trouble at the start of the fight here now. If you aren't standing far enough right on this platform, that flower over there will actually continue to spawn its little spore there, and Sophia is not standing far enough to the right, so Sophia's going to have to keep using power bombs here to deal with those enemies for a little bit. And of course Sophia has less missiles than Box did, so Sophia's going to have to use more charge beams and power bombs here. See if Box gets a Nightmare Spark. Okay, and he does. So for this trip of Sector 5, you have a really long spark you get to do at the beginning, and luckily Box was able to get it. It's, I believe, the longest spark in the game. It's the fun little spark you get to do there. Now Sophia is going to be leaving Sector 2 here. We'll also be heading into Sector 5 for the last time. Looks like Box does opts to not grab that E-Tank there at the very start of this fight, so he's going to be sticking with his 4 E-Tanks here. We'll see how this fight goes for him. Nightmare is generally a very interesting fight. The first couple of phases are really easy to do. Like, he's already on the second phase. He's about to be on the third. So now he's entering the third phase here, and the way the phase starts is always the same. Nightmare goes to that side of the room, and then you unload on him with your charge beam and missile shots. And now at this point, Nightmare kind of tries to chase you around the room, and you want to lure him into a position like that, where he actually stops right there and does the same thing again. As you can see, you have more than enough missiles for this boss fight here. Looks like Box is actually going to be ending the fight with 11 missiles, and already got double.
Oh, unfortunately,
misses the third double, but even so, that's still very good to get 2 doubles in that fight. Sophia opting to go for a Nightmare Space Boost there, unfortunately does not get it. Now the funny thing is, every door in every one of these little destroyed doors you're going through set Samus's position to be at the bottom of the door whenever you're going through it. And because of that, it actually alters the way you have to kind of do the space boost very specifically. If you don't like jump a certain way through a door, you will mess it up. And that's one of the things that you have to worry about when doing Nightmare Space Boost. And on top of that, Nightmare Space Boost actually goes a little bit farther than the regular, than just Shine Sparking across. And even then, it doesn't really save a huge amount of time, but you do earn some style points for going for it. Looks like Box is going to be almost done with lower sector 4 here. Important to note, this is actually the only time you visit you visit every sector twice, but this is actually the only sector you visit twice, but you don't have a boss fight the second time around.
Okay, so Sophia grabs the Nightmare E-Tank, puts her at 4 like Boxmeister. Having a little bit slower phase 2 than Boxmeister did have, but is able to get the phase 3 perfectly fine.
Cutting it a little bit close there, but Sophia does get through the Nightmare's third phase, and will be now finishing off the Corex here. Ooh, gets a very nice double to start off there. A little bit of a diagonal shot there. Looks like Sophia's opting not to go for any doubles there, and just set up the sweet spot here a little bit. And now Boxmeister is done with lower sector 4, and he gets diffusion missiles. So we'll be moving on to sector 6.
Now, diffusion missiles, once again, are a missile upgrade that increases the cooldown and increases how fast your missiles travel, which makes timing a little bit harder. But besides that, diffusion missiles are rather useless. I mean, there's really only like a few times that you actually use diffusion missiles in this, even in the speedrun itself. They're only used once or twice to break some missile blocks.
Yeah, diffusion missiles have a few more spots in 100% that you can actually use them effectively, but for any percent, they're not really all that useful. Luckily, this trip through Sector 6, you don't have to worry about the puffers as much. Plasma Beam's pretty good at killing them, and their positions are a lot less annoying to deal with. In fact, some of them typically stay in the same spot every time, so that'll definitely help out Box with having to deal with those guys a little bit. Now we see Boxmeister starting the Xbox fight here. But it's a little bit different from the last fight with this enemy, and you have to kind of position yourself a little bit differently, and he does different attacks. Pretty okay fight there. Box gets through it. Now he's going to have to kill the Core X here. The Y-Beam does do a good chunk of damage, but with Box's health, he should be fine here. It's a pretty decent. Yeah, gets good positioning in there. Don't think it was quite true sweet spot, but he did get really close to it.
Warning, no entry without authorization. Warning, no entry without authorization.
Sophia thinking another recharge, as there is no red X before Xbox, and can do damage to you quite quickly.
Yeah, Xbox does have a room before with a lot of Ice X's where you can sort of get a fake recharge, so to speak. But if you're not confident in it, it's still a good idea to take a recharge, because as I mentioned before, it's better to take a refill and lose a bit of time than to die and lose a lot of time later. Box is a little bit of a trick there by jumping through that door, and that makes those Metroids line up. Neat little thing you can do there.
Suddenly Metroids just chilling in a secret sector.
Yeah, although not too surprising. You kind of expected them to show up at some point. Now Samus is getting yelled at for destroying that area that she didn't destroy. And Sophia is now in Sector 6 here and will be heading to fight the Xbox. Now Boxmeister's moving on here and is going to be going to fight the loudest boss in the game. So
Yes.
headphone users beware.
Be sure to turn up your volume to the loudest.
Don't do that, but get excited for the Ridley fight that's coming up here. Ridley in this game can be a bit of a nuisance, so it'll be interesting to see how Box's fight goes, but the main goal of the fight is he'll just want to keep Ridley in the right corner, and he's going to want to unload him with diagonal shots while he's facing him. And hopefully, if everything goes well, that fight should go well here.
Yes, this is one of the few bosses that have a rather large hitbox that the plasma beam can travel through, so you can do an immense amount of damage with a wave beam over your missiles.
Yeah, it's sort of interesting because this is really the first boss fight we get to really abuse plasma beam on. But it's important to note it's plasma beam that causes the abuse. You get wave beam before this, but it's really the effect of the plasma beam that lets you abuse this fight so much. Because each of the beams stack in fusion, so ooh. Box is having a bit of trouble there. Yeah, you typically want to, your charge beam, losing your charge can be very annoying in this fight because losing it for even a split second will actually cause this whole pattern to get messed up here. But luckily, it looks like Box actually got a really good pattern there, so it really didn't mess him up too badly. Now, unfortunately, getting doubles in this part of the fight is extremely hard. Getting doubles with the diffusion missile upgrade is the most difficult set of doubles you can do. And because of that, you kind of have to go through and just rely. It looks like Box is not jumping up high enough, actually, to set up doubles there.
Should be a little bit careful, but I think this is the final hit. And yes.
Yep. Yeah, you pretty much have to do full jumps to set up those doubles there. But Box gets through the fight and is now, will now be going onward with the screw attack upgrade. While Sophia is going to be not too far behind here. Sophia's gonna be finishing up the, I don't remember the name of this area, but the secret sector, I guess.
Restricted sector.
Restricted, there we go, yeah. But Sophia's going to be going through there and going to hopefully be moving on to fight Ridley, and we'll see how Sophia's fight goes. Sophia did opt to pick up Nightmare E-Tank, so Sophia's going to have the same health that Box did going in. Does have a bit of trouble leaving the restricted area. And that's one of those little areas where those Metroids can just seemingly be uncooperative. You have to avoid them or they bounce you around. They don't do any damage to you, but they are a nuisance and they'll slow you down. Now Box is on his way to the most difficult boss in this game, aka the final text box.
Yeah, I'm gonna go take a nap while this text box comes up.
Yeah, so the game likes to give a giant lore dump on you at the end here, but nonetheless, Box will get to refresh his text matching skills if they've gotten a bit rusty. But luckily, while it's happening, we'll have Sophia over here going to do the Ridley fight, and we'll see how that goes. Does have to go through a few rooms to get there first, though. Looks Sophia opts not to grab that E-Tank, and of course that's an E-Tank you can get there if you're a little bit worried about your health going into Ridley, but Sophia has full health except for a little bit of damage loss.
Yes, for a second there I thought she was actually going to go grab that E-Tank, but she was just trying to fall through the rippers.
Looks like Sophia is being safe with her health though, because you actually run through the acid in that previous room, but Sophia opts not to do that and just conserve health instead. Those enemies do damage, but that's obviously a good chunk less than trying to just go around and do that. Does get a bit more health from killing that gold pirate without taking any damage, so of course Sophia will be able to pick up the red X here. Does have a bit of trouble getting through those rippers though. Sophia's shooting her charge beam a little bit too early, and that can definitely mess you up in this fight as well. You want to be aware of your charge beam's charge time really well here, because if you mess it up, Ridley will grab you, and his grabbing does do a good chunk of damage. He likes to flip sides on you while he's grabbing you, so...
He's actually running really low in health. Oh no.
Oh no.
And
oh. Sophia unfortunately loses to Ridley there. That's one of those things with that boss fight, is that fight can be really brutal on you. It is definitely one you have to be very cautious in. Ridley's sort of a fight that I think a lot of runners tend to just forget about a little bit, how difficult it can be to deal with. But if you're not careful, Ridley can very easily take your life away in this game. It looks like Sophia is opting to reload a save here, which is a smart move, because if Boxmeister dies, then Sophia will be a little bit ahead.
Unfortunately, forgetting that she has to talk to the ship again before she is able to go fight Yakuza, but...
Yeah, the weird thing is with this, after you do this, whenever you save there, it doesn't actually save after you do the text box. So you have to actually go exit the ship, re-enter the ship, and talk to Adam.
And now it seems she's just kind of messing around, so I wonder if she's just gonna forfeit. Very unfortunate.
Oh, Box messes up his fight there. Opts to do a faster version of what I like to call the rodeo strat. Leads the SAX around like a bull there, I guess, and now he's going to be going to the second phase here. Gets a 2-hit, nice. Now he'll be setting up for some doubles. Or it looks like he will be opting to do this safe way here. Which is really smart, because the Ice Beam does do a ton of damage. And his health is, well, okay, he doesn't want to risk that extra damage there from being hit with the Ice Beam too many times. Now, if you do get hit a lot in that boss fight, the screw attack basically ignores everything the Ice Core can do to you, including its own body. So, you can just tank right through it and grab a bunch of health drops if you need to. So it's a really easy way to cheese through that fight if you need to. Ryan Sophia is back in the Yakuza fight while we see Boxmeister getting through the last little escape here in the game. We'll have to fight the Omega Metroid on the way though, which can be a bit of a nuisance because the Omega Metroid will take away an E-tank with every shot, but Box does get a refill beforehand. Tries to go for low height, but it's a little bit too high there. Oh, looks like Sophia did not do quite enough damage to the Yakuza there for that.
Ooh, and Sophia might just die again. Yeah, taking death to Yakuza again.
2 minutes to destination.
Box now has the Ice Beam. Is not able to get a stun lock on Omega Metroid.
You want to be careful. I think we have Wire Runners get too antsy there.
Ooh, Box.
You kind of want to do that. You don't want to get too bold, or else.
Oh,
oh no.
Unfortunately, Box takes a death at Omega. And we're gonna have Boxmeister for an interview, I guess. Hello, Box.
Hi. I'm restarting from my save points. So, I'll be continuing, I guess. But man... Need to do the text first.
Yeah, I'm very sorry to see that both of you have died.
Yeah, I'm still, I'm gonna finish this race, I guess. But man, I didn't know she died, because I was eyeing the race channel, to be honest. But I didn't open the restream channel. Did she do any safety saves, Phase on or next gen?
You both saved at Yakuza.
Okay. Don't skip that. Let's go. You can throw me out of the voice channel since I'm continuing the race.
So, it seems both winners are going to continue once again, and it seems both reset their timers.
Looks like both runners about to start up the Yakuza fight here again. Sophia's going to be a little bit ahead of Box here. Box having a bit of trouble dealing with these pirates. Sophia finishes up the last phase here. Looks like Box is starting the last phase, using the charge beam here. Probably trying to conserve a few missiles for the next part of the fight.
Nope.
Looks like Box is almost finished with the fight here. Looks like he's done. Now he's got the spaceship upgrade, and we'll see Sophia here getting away from the SAX. Ooh, Sophia's health is not good going into the next area here. One hit from a stray enemy right now could kill Sophia right off the bat. All the enemies at this point do a good chunk of damage, and the key hunters especially. Getting hit with a stinger does over 100 damage, so this is very dangerous right now.
Sophia had 0 beams, but did not kill the idol in her shot. Was good to go now.
Yeah, the charge beam will only do that one hit if you're literally pretty much right next to it. Now it looks like Sophia has fixed her positioning a little bit, doesn't have to worry about that flower in the back. It's now on the second phase of the fight. Ops has saved some missiles here. See, looks like Sophia's finishing up the fight while looks like Boxmeister is just about to start. Second phase. Don't think Box got that double, unfortunately. So he's gonna have a bit of trouble here. Now Sophia's leaving Sector 2 for the second time around, and Box is almost out of there. Just go through this room and a bit of movement here to get out. Does opt to lay a power bomb there, so he gets rid of both those blocks instead of having to use bombs. Now we'll be going to fight the Nightmare again. Now, one big advantage Sophia has right now is that she's a little bit ahead of Box going into here at the moment. Does, however, miss the Nightmare Shine Spark there, so we're going to have to see a backup strat here.
Accidentally wins sparks and decides just to run for it, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the best strat to do there is if you mess up the backup. If it's worth going back to get the spark or not. It looks like Sophia will be the first one at the idol, but it looks like Boxmeister is not far behind. See the RNG treats him here. It's 2 beams, unfortunately. Alright, but only 2 beams. See if Box gets any better luck going into the idol. Sophia opts to grab the Nightmare E-Tank there. Looks like Box gets 1 beam at least here. I believe Box also only got 2 beams. Now Sophia has started the fight, already in phase 2 here. Almost done with phase 2. Looks like Sophia's opting to save her missiles here and only use plasma beam on the fight. Whereas Box will be entering the second phase right about now. Definitely took advantage of those definitely took advantage of having those missiles there, and now it's going to be going on into the fight here, and we'll also be working to set up for the third phase.
Sophia has having a little trouble manipulating Nightmare, but is able to get him in a good position.
Box isn't really, he's way too high up. Yeah, he messed up bad there. Looks like he couldn't decide on a position to start shooting missiles from, and that caused him to lose a bit of time. Right, but does get to here and is now going to be going to the end of the fight. Right, and it looks like Sophia is going to be moving on throughout the sector here. Does have a bit of trouble dealing with that pirate, though. Yeah, generally underwater pirates are extremely difficult to deal with. Oh no, ran right. Unfortunately, you gaining speed from the speed booster caused Sophia to run right into the plasma shot there from the pirate, which dealt a bit of damage. That's something you unfortunately have to watch out for with the pirates. So their beams can be very deadly, and they tend to travel at some points an almost extremely annoyingly slow rate. And that can cause stuff like that to happen to you, unfortunately. Now both runners about to have diffusion missiles here with, looks like Box already got the security door and Sophia's almost to diffusion missiles here. One thing that worries me right now is Sophia does have a bit of bad health, which can be really dangerous in lower sector 4. A lot of the enemies down here do a good chunk of damage, and running into them can be very annoying. Now, it looks like Sophia's luckily doesn't have really too many more rooms to go through, which is nice because with the health Sophia's at right now, she doesn't want to take too much damage. Does kind of dance around those beam shots there to try and avoid taking any more. I don't think anything at this point is going to one hit kill Sophia, but getting hit by multiple beams like that can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, she just has to be a little bit careful not to get comboed in any way.
Unfortunately, those beams are good at two things, dealing damage and getting your way. And Sophia actually bonked into the door there, which means she's going to have to go back and do this all over again. You do have to go through there, and actually, ooh, no.
That, I guess, Box is back in the lead, about to get diffusion missiles. Sophia's still having a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, opts to go this way, which is good, because at this point, going back is what you pretty much have to go this way now. Does mess up the shine source, so Sophia's gonna have to space jump up here.
Ooh. Sophia's not careful in this room with the outage. Yeah.
Looks like Sophia opted to only lay the power bomb there, which is a smart move because laying your regular bomb is a little bit faster, but you also cause the ouches to fall. Laying the power bomb means they're all going to get killed before they can touch you, which is nice.
Now, hopefully she takes another recharge like she did before, so she does not die. No, she's skipping it. She will either recharge in Sector 6 or just hope for the best and collect some Ice X.
Yeah, Box's health is actually not stellar either here, but hopefully he won't run into any problems. We'll have to see. Box does opt to take a recharge here, which is definitely going to help him out going through here. Does go back for the speed booster here. I'm not sure that that's really worth it, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, I don't think that would have been worth it at all. Since with the plasma beam, he could easily just rip through those enemies.
Yeah, definitely don't think that saves any time, but can make going through our room a little bit nicer, so.
Sophia just completely bypassing the recharge. Being a little dangerous in what she's doing.
Now Sophia opts to grab these Ice X's here, which put her up to 2 E-tanks of health.
Practically 3 if she gets a few more yellow X from enemies, but otherwise, I'm a little worried about how she's going to do against Xbox.
Warning.
Box tinking some missiles on that initial attempt, and again.
Looks like both runners are in the box fight right now. Looks like Box is now, however, done with the fight. I think Sophia will almost be done with the fight here.
Box finishes off the core and now has the wave beam again.
We see Sophia actually starting the core fight here.
Warning. No entry without authorization.
Now again, you won't really see runners going for doubles in this boss fight because they're really annoying to do and they're extremely difficult, so it's not really worth going for doubles in this fight.
In this, it's frame perfect already for the doubles, but it's frame perfect with positioning as well, since the room is just so small. But
Yeah, I believe the positioning's pixel perfect, if I remember right.
Yeah, I believe that's right. But Sophia does survive and is on her way, not that much farther behind Box. Box had a little trouble trying to get out of there with those Metroids, but gets out a pretty decent time.
So both runners are still in the same text box here, but Box does get to leave right before Sophia starts it. Seeing Box is going to be going to fight Ridley here. So pretty much almost done with the game. There's a few more bosses to go through. Now he's going to be going through the Ridley fight. Wonder if we'll see any of the runners take a safety save here.
So once again, we get to hear the gloriousness of Ridley screeches, but
Looks like Box was not quite able to actually get rid of those blocks there. So he will have to go back in and go back later on his way out and use diffusion missiles again. Does get really good gold pirates though, so it's gonna save him a little bit of time there. Hopefully. Just see how he goes through here. And gets no beams. Nice. Right, now let's see how this Ridley fight goes. Right, took probably a bit more damage than he wanted to there, but still gets to move on here with the fight.
looks like he learned his lesson from the last fight. He's jumping a little bit higher to try to avoid the core action hitting him.
Yeah, game doubles in this fight is incredibly hard, unfortunately. It's just side effect of all the missile upgrades they have at this point. Looks like Sophia does finish up the fight here. Now Sophia's going to also be finding the Core X here real quick. Now both runners are actually on their way to the end almost. They do have 2 more boss fights to go through. And both of them have screw attack, and of course they're both neck and neck. It's a bit of a side effect of both runners dying, is that it actually has taken away any leads that they had beforehand. So now they're both really close to each other, and neither of them want to really mess up here, because one mistake at this point could make the difference. Box is almost through his little retread of Sector 1 here. Has to go through a few more rooms with Sophia, again, not far behind. Bit of trouble there trying to get through that room. Box taking full advantage of shoot cancels here to actually climb up this room faster. Can space jump up there, but it's a little bit slower than just doing those shoot cancels on those platforms. Now Box has entered the last big text box of the game with Sophia just about to enter it, not too far behind. This is a really long text box, so we'll definitely see both our runners being in the same text box here. Now, of course, at this point, we'll see both runners will be going on to the SAX and Omega fights, and it'll be interesting to see if we actually see either runner take a save here. Because, of course, both runners died fairly recently. We saw Sophia dying to Ridley and Box dying to the Omega Metroid. And I don't think either of them may not want to repeat that, so we'll see if either of them opt to take a save here. Now there is a save on the way to the SAX fight, so that's generally the save we'll see them take, if they opt to go for one. Alright, and Box is finished. Now he'll be heading on here and moving on to Escape to go through and fight the Sax. Now the SAX fight can be a bit dangerous, and we actually saw Box actually mess up the quick kill on his last time he tried to fight. He was able to recover no problem though, with a bit of a quirk there, but we'll actually see here if either runner is going to take this save. Looks like we do see Boxmeister opting to take the save here. So he's going to be losing a bit of time, but he will definitely be perfectly fine as long as he doesn't die to the SAX. Now, will we see Sophia take the save?
Oh, mocking the save and actually just
opts not to take the save there. Has a bit of trouble moving up these platforms, though.
That Box is about to start the SAX fight again. Hopefully he can have a stun lock this time. Ooh, but
he messes up. He doesn't actually wait for the SAX to move closer to him, and that's unfortunately what caused him to mess up there.
both runners messed up the stun lock and are just trying to loop the SAX around and do charge shots. Box finished it off first.
Does get the 2-hit in the phase here. Now we'll be opting for some safety strats on getting the Core X here. Looks like Sophia has a bit of trouble in the second phase there.
With that, Box finishes off the SAX fight, and he's gonna head his way to the Omega Metroid again. Hopefully he does not die this time.
Propulsion sequence activated. Destination.
Sophia's really not that far behind.
You know, one big advantage Box has right now is he has that save. So if Sophia dies, then he can still actually, even if they both die, he can actually still have a bit of a lead over Sophia. So taking that save is definitely a smart move, especially considering he still has the lead already. So being able to go on here, he'll actually have a bit of advantage. Right, it looks like Box is going to be starting the Omega fight here. Let's see if he gets a quick kill this time.
He is able to get it.
Looks like he gets it. Nice. Alright, congratulations to Boxmeister. I believe that means he has won the race.
And we will have Boxmeister here for an interview. Again. Hello, Boxmeister.
Absolute wood tier. Absolute wood tier. Ah. Ah. But
Well,
dang, it
congrats on,
became a close race because of that.
Yes.
Oh.
Congrats on beating the Omega this time and not letting that kill you.
Oh, stupid Omega Metroid. But I was off the first time and I was so nervous. Because you saw how the second fight went. I got it and it was over, just over. Ah, dear Lord, what a train wreck. But man, GG for Sophia as well for finishing. Oh, this is how Herc must have felt, right?
Yeah.
Jeez.
So again, congratulations, Boxmeister. You'll be moving on to the next round to fight Crunchy Lex. What do you plan on doing to prepare for that?
The stupid thing is, I was prepared for this, and I don't know if any of you paid attention to my timer, but right before I died to Omega Metroid, I was on PB pace. I was 10 seconds ahead of my PB, and that's why I was so mad when I died.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I was hoping to give it the race a little bit more shine by finishing with with a shiny new PB, but not today. Omega Metroid said no. But yeah, I definitely gonna practice that Omega Metroid fight a little bit, maybe if I have the chance.
I think what got you was you were just a little bit too far up whenever you started the quick kill there. I think that's what got you in the first attempt.
Yeah, I played it too risky when I tried to recover it. I was so nervous. I played it way too risky. Because I was paying attention to the restream. I should have saved the first time before engaging SCX, to be honest. Well, anyways, I've only have myself to blame for that train wreck. Yeah, I'll watch out for that next time. And I need to step up my game against Crunchy.
I mean, it's like you said, you were on PB pace up to that point.
Yeah,
that's definitely a good sign.
I've noticed the past week that I've during my practice, I practiced with parts of the game that my times were getting down and I was getting more consistent. So yeah, I noticed that I could go for perhaps a 50 for the 50 in-game time finally, but I need only 20 seconds extra time save on my PB to achieve that. So yeah, maybe next time. I'll definitely keep practicing to try and get that personal milestone, because I really want to get the 50. Anyways, finish the race. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Sophia. I can't hear you, Sophia.
Okay. Well, if you're interested in more Metroid Fusion, there is another race tonight at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time with C-Sky-W versus Resserin on Speed Gaming 4. And on Speed
I
Gaming...
believe both those runners have both really good at the game, so it'll be definitely really fun race to watch.
His palms are sweaty, these weak arms are heavy, there's vomit on his sweater already.
Sophia. My ears.
Well, again, congratulations to both runners. A bit of a mishap at the end there, but both made it through to the end. So even though you both had a little bit of death there, you still made it out there. And again, congratulations to Box for taking home that tournament win. That's about all we got for you guys for now. But there's still plenty of stuff to be on Speed Gaming. I believe on Speed Gaming 1 right now, they have Super Mario Sunshine already started. And then on here, we'll have a Link to the Past and MG at 6 o'clock. And then Speed Gaming 1, have Sonic Adventure 2 and Mega Man X4, and then a few more other things later on. And of course, like we mentioned earlier, on Speed Gaming 4, there will be a Metroid Fusion tournament race again between C-Scotty-W and Resserin. So be sure to go check that run out whenever it gets started. But I think for now, we're done here. Thank you to our contestants here, Boxmeister and Sophia. Hope to see you guys stream even more, and Box, look forward to seeing your future tournament performances.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you guys at the next race.